Hello and welcome to Learn, Do, Become Radio, episode 97. We are so grateful to have you here. My name is April Perry, and I am one of the founders of LearnDoBecome.com, where we help people who are drowning in the details of their personal and professional lives to create simple systems so they can do what matters most. Now, today we're talking specifically about how you would organize projects at a professional level. I was interviewed on my friend Theresa Lowe's podcast called Streamlined and Scaled. Theresa is amazing. She's a leadership and team building coach that I've known for years. She's super solid. She's given us really good advice on building our team here at Learn, Do, Become. And you can find her at theresalowe.com. We'll put the link on our website because there's different ways to spell it and all that. So come to the show notes page for more information. That will be learndobecome.com/episode 97. So what we're going to talk about today is how you would essentially set up projects as a team leader that could involve a variety of team members. Now, you could also use this inside of a family or a volunteer organization, or you could adapt what we're talking about to your personal life. But one of the things I'm really excited about, like my little secret dream, is to help more leaders in the professional space, especially people who are either entrepreneurs who are juggling a whole lot of tasks, because I know how that feels, or people who are trying to really make something important happen in their company or their school or their, wherever it is that they're working, and they need the help of a team. Because while I'm not an expert in everything that we need to know as professionals, or I don't know everything about how to build a team optimally, I do know that we've had a very successful method for organizing and executing our projects. And it's worked for years for us. It makes it so it doesn't feel stressful to run the business. And I feel actually very excited about our work on a daily basis because we have a system in place that is very streamlined, it's scalable, it's very functional, and we're able to help everyone to be on the same page. So I'm going to take you into this interview that I did with Theresa and hope that you'll be able to get some good ideas that you can apply to your life in whatever way is going to work best for you. I feel like I haven't really talked a lot about the professional side. This has been a very difficult transition for me. Very much my identity has always been, I'm a mom, I am home with my kids, I would read stories and do carpools, and I love to go in and help with class parties, things like that. Like that was my identity. That's what I'd always wanted, and that's what I did for a lot of years. Now our children are starting to get older, and I'm working more alongside Eric, actually building a business. But it's taken me a lot of time and a lot of years to actually be able to stand up and say, hey, I actually know how to run a business. I know how to get projects done. I know how to manage the details that come with building something, because that's what I'm doing on a daily basis. So while I never want to come across as egotistical, I do want to finally acknowledge, like, I know what I'm doing in some parts of this. And I think I have some things that I could share that could make it easier for you. Okay, does that sound totally dumb? We'll just go ahead and dive right in. Anyway, enjoy, and I hope that this will be helpful to you.
Hey, April, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you, Theresa.
Yeah, well, I'm super excited to dive into this because we both think alike, first of all. But I'm super excited because it's such a great topic. And project management for leaders, I think, is super important. And the thing that's really fun about you and I is that I help people streamline their team and their business, and you help people streamline their entire life. And so I have learned so much from you through the years on different ways to be organized. You're just so clever in the way that you approach things. And so I just know this will be a very valuable episode. And before we even dive into the whole project management stuff, I'd love for you to tell everybody just a little bit about what it is that you do.
Yeah, well, we help people who are drowning in the details of life to create simple systems so that we can do what matters most. And really where it originated was I was feeling like a flailing, crazy person when I first had children. And Eric and I were trying to start a business, and I was procrastinating everything, and I didn't want to even work on our business. And I was overwhelmed pretty much all the time and not sleeping well. And I was really deep in a pain point. And I learned through reading great books and trial and error and working with people how to get out of that. And now I help hundreds of thousands of people to do the same. And it's become my passion because it's changed my life. And my goal is to help people totally get out of that overwhelm.
Yes. And you do such a good job.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. So what we're going to talk about here is really project management for leaders. And when you and I were talking before we started, you said something that I was like, yes, that is the theme that runs all the way through. And you said, I want people to understand that it's possible to run a project in a way that feels calm. And I think that if you don't naturally have any training in how to manage a project, or if you just aren't wired that way, like right out of the gate, it can be very hectic, just like you were saying. And I know that when you get organized, it makes a difference. But sometimes even with that, people still it's chaos and it's still tense. So I love that we're going to talk about this. So I think one of the first things we should touch on, though, is what are some of the mistakes that CEOs or business owners make? And we've both seen them. So what kind of things do you see people make?
Well, and what's so awesome is we're all human. I think we all have a lot of the same human tendencies. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the challenges in being a CEO or a business owner, it's the same challenges as if you're a college student or a parent or just someone who's trying to get something done, right? When you think about a CEO or a business owner, these are people who have a specific goal. They're trying to be leading a team, leading people towards providing some kind of service or doing something amazing to contribute to the world. But what often happens is that when you're a leader, you get this idea and you think, okay, this is what I want to accomplish. And then you start imagining all the things that you need to do in order to accomplish it. And maybe you take too much on yourself. You put yourself in the middle. I know I've been totally guilty of that. Maybe you delegate, but you don't really delegate clearly, or you delegate too many things, or you delegate a few things and then you have shiny object syndrome and you think, oh, wait, actually, we're going to totally change. And now I'm going to delegate this, but you aren't quite sure what you've delegated prior. And so the people who are trying to follow you get incredibly frustrated. And I just know by working with a lot of different people throughout the entire world that there is so much frustration in working under someone and saying, oh my goodness, this person told me to do it. And then I spent an hour on it. And then they went and handed it to someone else. And someone else did it. They didn't even tell me. Or they told me this was the parameter. And then they totally changed their mind. And so I did all this work.
Yes.
And what happens is you end up, and I think I've been on both sides. I've been the one feeling frustrated and I've been the one not leading well. And no leader wants the people who are working with them to feel angry or to be spending hours of their week talking about how frustrated they are about you, right?
Right.
You don't want that. You want people to love working with you and enjoy that. And I'm not saying I'm there, but what we're trying to do is create an environment where the people on our team, the people who are working, whether it's our family members or employees or contractors or whoever, that the people who are associated with us, who are working with us toward a goal, know exactly who is doing what we're working toward, and how we're making it happen. And typically that's not the case because leaders get scattered and they don't know how to delegate and they don't have things visually in order. So they're just doing the best they can, but they haven't been able to wrap their heads around all that needs to be done and those details. They don't have a system in place.
Yes.
That's the key.
So true. Yes, it's the system, but sometimes even with the system, they still don't quite have it as dialed in as they could. So some of the things that I see working with lots of different types of people and different CEOs is that one of the biggest mistakes I see is that they, even when they start a system, they end up handing out tasks instead of responsibilities.
Oh,
and
I've been so guilty of this.
I started out that way too. I think everybody starts that way. It's like, oh, you can do this one little piece. And part of it is because we're afraid, right? We're afraid to hand it off. So we're still like, I'm always telling people I have to pry your little fingers off that so you can hand it off to your team. But part of it is because we're afraid to let go. It's a control thing. Yeah. But also, even when we were like, no, I never want to do this again, we just give away a piece. and one little part. And then that person does it and comes back and says, okay, what's next? And then we're standing there going, oh, now I have to stop what I'm doing and figure out what you're going to do next. So you're not just managing them, you're like running their life in their business, and you're not really handing off anything. And it ends up taking even more of your time than if you were to just do it yourself. And I think for me, that's one of the most common mistakes I see, especially when people first bring someone in, is that they are not handing off a responsibility. They're just handing off little pieces of tasks. So
and you know what? As you said that is absolutely appropriate when you have 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, or 5-year-olds. I will say that.
Yes.
So when we had all these little children, we had 4 children under the age of 8, and I used to call them chain link responsibilities. And the way it would work is I would tell one child, okay, you're going to go take, this bag of trash out to the trash can. As soon as you're done with it, you come back and I'll give you the next job, because they were only capable of doing one little thing at a time. So I would tell the next child, okay, you're going to pick up these blocks and put them in the box and then come back to me. So I would have all of my children doing those tasks. They would run out and get something done and they'd come right back. Now I have teenagers. And so I would say something like, okay, every Saturday, your job is to get the fridge clean. And now the fridge is clean every Saturday.
Yes.
I'm not telling them, now we're going to take all the food out. Now we're going to throw stuff away. Now we're going to wipe down the counters. Like, they know how to do it because we've created a system, right?
Yes.
Now they just know. And so I don't have to think about the fridge. I haven't cleaned a fridge in years, and it's amazing. So yeah.
That's really good.
It makes a difference. But yes, with team members, I think that we're underappreciating and underutilizing them when we give them tasks instead of outcomes. And I have been so bad at that, but I've been learning from you and others how to do this, and it's getting much better.
Yes. By the way, I love the whole clean the refrigerator every Saturday. I wish I had given that to my boys before they went off to college, because that would have been a good thing.
But it's clean when the groceries come, right?
Yes.
So then you just get the groceries. The fridge is already clean, and you don't have to be shoving clean stuff in. New stuff over anyway.
I never had it as a special day or assigned it to anyone, but I did have, my boys did go off to college knowing how to do their own laundry, and they both know how to cook. So
brilliant.
Yeah. I know. I kept telling them,
yes,
they're totally functional. And I kept telling them, one day your wife is going to thank me because you know how to do this stuff. And I don't ever want to hear that you aren't doing this at home, because you know how. But yes, so that's really good. I think one of the other big mistakes I see, and this is usually with someone who's not a beginner, but when I work with CEOs who are multi-7-figure earners and they have some really top-notch people on their team, one of the mistakes I see them still making with project management is that because they have A-list players on their team and they're working with top-notch people, they overload them and they never look at their capacity. They just keep handing off. And because these are A-list players, they many times just keep taking it and taking it.
They don't complain because they want to help and they're amazing people.
Yes.
So they just keep doing. Yes. I love that you brought that up.
Yes. So that's another one.
We just met with each of our team members this week, and I didn't know how many emails were coming into our system. I knew our team was doing an amazing job managing them, but Eric was sitting down talking with our communications specialists, and he said, April, do you know we had something like 3,000 emails that came in last month? Wow. And I'm like, oh, that is a lot of emails. And so we figured out, I guess 25% were on this one topic that we could actually solve if we put in a different project or implemented a project and got some things cleaned up. And it was such a relief to be able to get that information and find out how they were doing, because I don't care who the leader is. I don't think there's any leader who is out there trying to overwhelm people, because you don't want to burn anyone out.
No.
Right? Like, you're not trying to, but sometimes we're just so focused on other problems or other issues that we don't think about it. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it's a common one, and I've done it myself, and the person who is so good, they just keep going. But if it goes on too long, you could end up losing someone, or they just don't feel valued, when in fact, you value them tremendously, because they are always there for you. And so it's important to pay attention. In fact, everything that we've talked about can make a team member not feel value. And, that's the last thing that we want to have happen because, we work hard to bring in just the right people for the right seats. And we love everyone that's on our team and we want everyone to keep working together and love their job. And so if someone doesn't feel value because of something that we're just not paying attention to, that would break my heart. I know it would break your heart as well.
Right. And I am learning that sometimes a job isn't the right fit for someone. And I'm learning that it's okay. I'm reading that book, Necessary Endings by Henry Cloud, which is so good, helping understand, hey, there's times and seasons and things might change for people, and not to feel like my job as a leader is to make everybody happy all the time. But I do think that when we figure out these systems, how not to overload, how to delegate well, how to create calm in our projects, then I think the people who are right for the job and it's the right place for them and they want to be there, then they want to stay and then they'll feel valued and you'll be able to figure it out. Sometimes it's not going to be the right fit. So I do need to say that because there's a lot of pressure. I don't want to feel stressed out all the time. Like I have to make everyone happy all the time. You really can't.
No.
But when the right people are on the bus, right? And you've got the right people on the bus and in the right seats. Okay, now let's talk about, we're just going to assume that from this point forward.
Yes.
Because it doesn't matter how great your systems is. If you've got the wrong person on the bus or they just aren't a fit for that. Okay.
Yes. And in fact, I probably will do a whole episode just on that because that's actually one of the first steps I do with a CEO is we first look at who's on the team and do we have them in the right seats. And I'll tell you what, I have worked with people where they thought they needed to fire their whole team. And when we assessed them, they were all exceptional, but they were in the wrong seats based on their personalities and their traits. And we moved everyone around and they skyrocketed and they didn't fire anyone. No one got fired.
I think that's so helpful too, because when you apply it in a family setting, you can't fire your family.
No.
There's going to come a point where you might say, let's just start over.
Yeah.
This isn't working for me.
Yes.
But I think you're absolutely right. Let's look at personality types. Let's look at needs. Let's see, hey, this person believes in this cause or this person wants to be here. Let's figure out how we can make it work. I love that. So you've been so helpful to me on that side of looking at personality types and what are we delegating? How are we organizing? Because it is something that you need to be aware of for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And we could absolutely cover that in another episode. But I just think, when you hit on it, I was like, yes, that's like probably one of the first steps. But let's assume for the rest of this that we have the right people in the right seats. So let's talk about some of the things that people can do or project management as a leader. And I think one thing that you mentioned that I think is so important is that a system is just important. It's just important to have. Why do you feel a system is important?
Well, what I've found is if you just look at daily activities, just take a random project that you're going to work on. Let's say it's even just something in the community. I was talking with Theresa about this. We were putting together senior night for the basketball team. Okay. And I want to express it this way because we can also say something like, oh, we're going to put a podcast episode together. But really, sometimes that sounds overwhelming to someone maybe who's not a podcaster. So when we look at it, like it's a project. Anything that you're doing as a leader, it's project management. It's here's the goal, here's the outcome, here's the steps, here's what we're working towards. But I find when groups of people are trying to work on a project, if you don't have a system, what you end up with are a few maybe side conversations. Oh, wouldn't it be great if we got this one event done? When we were doing the senior night, we're thinking, oh, we need some pictures and we're doing these blankets and we're doing balloons and everyone's just kind of haphazardly, oh, who could do that? Oh, I could do that. And what time should we be there? And there was a whole lot of text. There was a whole lot of back and forth. And I'm sorry, I missed the date. And, it gets overwhelming. And for a person who's trying to lead chaos, it's incredibly stressful because you're wondering, oh, are people going to follow through? Is this going to happen? Same thing if you're running a business and you're trying to launch a product or you're trying to put together a new homepage for your website or something like that. If you have haphazard tasks assigned to random people and you're just hoping it's all going to come together, whoever is ultimately responsible for that project is going to feel incredibly stressed. They won't be sleeping at night. They'll be worrying. Their stomach's going to be in a knot. They're going to be constantly looking at the list. Or I've even seen, I had a close friend who was working with kind of a micromanaging leader, and the leader would constantly be texting, oh, wait, hey, can we have a quick phone call? Oh, hey, can we talk about this? So this person's getting on half-hour phone calls all the time, spending hours talking about something that was going to maybe take 45 minutes to ultimately get done.
Yes.
And so what happens is we end up wasting a whole lot of time either worrying or procrastinating or trying to follow up or trying to rework or trying to adjust when something else comes in if we don't have a system that's just put in place and that's calm. And that's why I'm so passionate about this, is because I know, like, this is what we do for a living, is we get projects done in a way that's calm. But we're helping hundreds of thousands of people in our community, tens of thousands of clients, and we have a lot going on in our business and in our family. We have 4 children, a lot going on. But I'm not stressed about project management. Now, I still have things on my mind that I'm concerned about. You know, we have issues with, like, okay, my teenager's changing jobs right now, or we got college acceptance coming soon, letters. So we're trying to figure out, what's going on with college. I mean, there's a lot of things that I'm, thinking about and I'm, working on and trying to make improvements in our family. But in our business and in our family, my projects cause zero stress. And there's no piles of clutter or things that are late or slipping through the cracks anywhere. And so when I explain that to people, so many times people think, wait, what on earth? How are you living without piles and clutter and overwhelm and all kinds of thousands of emails? How is everything just smooth and calm? And that's what I'm excited about.
Yes.
I want to show people you can do it too. It's not just me. It's a system.
It's totally a system. And I think one of the other reasons for me why it's so important is something you hit on. For me, that's open loops. Like, if I hand something off and I'm like, did they do it? Are they doing it now? Did they get stuck? I haven't heard anything. That's an open loop to me where my head, I'll go to sleep and I'm thinking these things. And, I'll wake up in the morning tired and it's like, why am I tired? It's because I was worrying about it. And worry is really when you're trying to solve a problem that isn't there yet. And the reason we do that is because we aren't sure that it's being handled. So open loops for sure.
I love it. You're talking about how while you're trying to sleep at night, your brain won't calm down because it's so subconscious, but your brain needs to feel safe, right? You need to know everything that's been assigned or everything out there is going to get done. And part of that comes from working with people who also have a system. If you've assigned something to someone, like I have a friend who has someone on her team, and she said, I only delegate things to her that I'm fine if they don't get done, because she rarely follows through.
Oh, no.
That is really sad because, and it's just the personality of this person. She just genuinely kind of forgets and doesn't have a system. And so, you kind of learn who you can trust, of course, that way. But I think that's why so many leaders start to hold on and only delegate one task at a time. Because if you don't have confidence something's going to get done and you delegate something pretty big, you're just not going to sleep at all that night, right?
No.
And you teach how to scale. You're helping people who want to streamline their business, want to scale. It is impossible to scale if you do not have people you can depend on, and if you don't trust that things are in a system and they're going to get done. You have to have that system.
Exactly. 100%. And that's why people they hit a ceiling with their business because there's only so many hours in a day. And if they're busy watching over everything, what I call, how you've heard of helicopter parenting? Well, I tell CEOs, you're helicopter CEOing because they're so concerned. Like, I don't know if they're going to do it. I don't know if they've done it. And they're watching and checking. And that never is a way to live when you are a parent. And it's certainly not the way to live when you're a CEO. And you can set up systems so that you don't have to keep hovering over. You can very quickly see where they're at, where the status is. If there's a deadline, if they miss the deadline, you can handle it. Where you just know this is the deadline. I still know that I have enough time. If they're going to miss the deadline, I always tell people to leave in some white space, just in case, like don't put things so tight that if one thing falls through because of a technical glitch, the whole system falls apart like a domino. But still, I think it happens. We do that because there's no system. And if you have a system, that all of that goes away. So you can just relax and concentrate on the things in your business that really you should be concentrating on, and not on, if you hand something off, it really should be truly off your plate so that you don't have to think about it.
Well, and I think even before the systems, like we'll get into that in just a second. But I love, as you've been bringing up. First of all, we talked about the right people on the team, but then I think there's also that mindset work. I know you have done so much mindset work in the past several years.
A lot, yes.
And that I'm finding is so important because I've looked at myself and seen where I'm lacking in leadership, and that's one of the main areas where I want to grow this year. Because I've realized I've kept things really small and manageable with our team. And I have not wanted to put things on other people, mainly because I felt bad. Like I felt like, oh, I bet other people wouldn't really want to work on this project. Or maybe that one's not super fun, or maybe that's hard. I'll just kind of keep it. And I realized mindset wise, I have been just holding on to a lot because I was just afraid I would be bothering people giving it away. I don't know where that all came from, but I'm learning how to get over that because people are excited about taking on new projects and they're excited to learn new things. And I'm not the only person in the world who knows how to put together a social media plan. Someone else can totally figure that out. And I think that needs to also be worked into it, whether you're a parent who's learning how to empower your children, whether you're a teacher who's learning to empower your students, or a business owner who's empowering a team. That element of leadership and really believing in someone else's capacity to grow that's foundational as well, because it's going to help you then to let go and not feel guilty or like you're putting, heavy burdens on someone, but that you're sharing and you're giving someone else the power to grow and become stronger themselves.
I love how you tied that into parenthood and teaching, because that is absolutely how I feel. I use parenting analogies a lot, only, because I am a parent, but also I think even if you aren't a parent, you were parented by someone. So you know the good and bad that can come with that. And what I tell my CEOs is that it's really about believing in your team members, sometimes even more than they believe in themselves, and then switching from managing them to mentoring them.
Oh, I love that so much. I want to be that, Theresa. If my team members are listening, just know I want to be a mentor. I want to be more helpful. I love that so much.
Yeah. And you are a mentor now, even just by being an example. But something that you said where like there's something that maybe does not light you up, so you feel bad handing it off. And oh my gosh, that is so true, that there are people who love to do the things that we don't love to do. It's just like, some people hate math, right? And here my son, he's in college right now, and he's 19. And this weekend, he is on a math competition representing the school. And they, for 4 days, they're locked in like this room with a team of a couple people, and they're competing against China. And
holy cow,
when he was telling me what they had to do, like they're given a problem that is unsolvable and they have to solve it and write a report. And I was like, there's a lot of people who would not think that's fun, but he's so excited, and he just thinks
me in a room with an unsolvable math problem.
Yes, with a big
compete against China.
Yeah, competing against China with a big whiteboard, and they're allowed to use the internet, but they aren't allowed to consult with anyone. And there's like he was telling me about it, and I'm like and he thinks it's going to be so fun, and I was like, awesome. That does not, as much as I love math because I do have a degree in engineering, I was like, that doesn't sound like fun to me. But oh my gosh, he's just so excited. So it's the same thing with us. There might, even bookkeeping. Some of us are like, oh, I hate bookkeeping, but there are people who love bookkeeping. Yes. And so you're not putting a burden on them by having them do that for you.
I love that. Well, and just one quick example. So when we first started our business, I felt like such a loser because I don't have graphic design skills. And our world is so visual with social media and on your website, you want things to look good. And I don't have it. And literally I created my first program with crayons and taking pictures of my pictures I drew with my crayons because I didn't know how to make anything. And then what happened was I heard about this company that does design for you. You just pay them a monthly fee and you can send up to 3 designs a day and they make all these images for you. And I felt like the biggest burden had just been taken off my shoulders and they wanted to do it. They had teams of designers and we've worked with them for years now. And it was so amazing to see that I could sketch something in pencil on a piece of paper, take a picture of it and email it to them and they would make it look exactly how I wanted it.
Wow.
And I just thought, okay, that just solved a huge problem. And so what I need to do is apply that to other areas of our business. Oh, if I need to get something in our marketing done better or YouTube ads, or I'm trying to learn video or whatever, that there are people out there who are super amazing.
Yes.
And that they can help and we can work towards the same goal. But knowing that I don't have to be the expert at everything feels so much better.
It's a huge relief, right? I know, because we don't have to know it all. What's helpful is if we know enough to understand what needs to be done, but we don't have to know all the fine details or be skilled at it, like especially with graphics.
Right.
I'm the same with you. Yeah. I'd rather hire that out.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So we understand why it's so important and some of the mistakes that people make. And what I would love is if you could share with everybody the specifics of your team home base, which is how you kind of run things in your business, because you have this it's just like a really clear and simple way of approaching all of your projects. And I just love the way you do it. So I would love it if you would kind of give us an overview of that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of my happy places because as, a CEO and someone who's leading a team, I want to know what we're doing. When I wake up in the morning, what am I doing? What's our business doing? What's our company doing? What are we paying people to do? Mm-hmm. And I want to have a clear idea where we're moving. So I know, hey, are we hitting our target? Are we going in the right direction? So what we've done, we use Asana. Some people think I'm talking about a SAUNA, like getting in a sauna, like at the gym.
Oh,
Asana, ASANA, our project management tool. And there's lots of different project management tools out there and people, use the ones that they like, but that's what we use. And essentially what we've done is we created a Learn to Become team project home base. That's the base name of the project, like left-hand side, the little column. There we go. Then we have just 4 different categories, little subsections inside that project. They call it a project in Asana. But we just have our current projects, in progress or waiting, next in line, and someday. And it's 1 page and it's super simple. And the way it works is under current projects, we have just a few projects. And this means anything that the team is working on. I might own 2, our assistant might own 1, our content person might own 1. So different people are owning them and we have those labeled. But we know, hey, right now at this moment, these are the projects that our team are currently trying to accomplish. What's beautiful about that current list is because it's short, when I open up my computer, I can just look at it and say, okay, this is what we're doing. And you can move down then into subtasks. You can delegate them. We include links to our Evernote or links to Dropbox or whatever extra files and resources we need. We might upload images to it, but all the information is centered there. And the reason why I love this is because during the day, I have project time built into every day, but I don't have to write down every little task I need to do. I can just open up my Asana, look at the projects that I'm responsible for, and I can just spend some time moving them forward, checking on the next actions. And then what's also wonderful is I've been the project manager for a long time. We just hired someone who came on who's going to be taking that role for me. But then we can just look at the projects and say, okay, are any of these stuck? Are any of these not moving forward? What's that next action? Do we need to boil that down further? Is there a reason we're procrastinating? We rarely, if ever, have a project that's delayed, procrastinated. I mean, there might be some technical glitch or something that comes up, but for the most part, everything just gets done on time and moves forward because it just feels clear. Like there's no guesswork. We know what we're working on. We know what the next action is. We know the resources we have, or, we know who we would need to contact if we need them. So just that current list that we keep really short is helpful. Now, if we do go to a conference, like Eric and I went to a conference a couple weeks ago. So we flew out of state, learned a lot, came home, and we had some new ideas. We did switch up that current projects list, moved some of them down to our next in line list, but we always make sure that current list, it's like the top of a pyramid. It's just a few things that we can actually focus on because we don't want to keep adding to the current list. If you have 80 projects on our current list, you're not going to get any of them done and you're going to feel super stressed out. And when you sit down to work, you won't even know where to start. And I have spoken with so many people who are working inside big businesses. And I say, well, when you sit down to work, what do you work on? And what they usually say is, well, whatever we talked about at our most recent meeting. That's how they choose. So it has nothing to do with the priorities of the company. It's about what's top of mind. And that way you're only going to be responding to what's at the top of your email inbox or what's at the top of your mind for that day, which could be totally different than what the company really needs. So any questions on how we put together our current list?
Yes, I have a couple questions. So first of all, I love that you keep it really small. We do the same thing and we try to keep, there's just on everybody's project list, not just the whole company, but that one person isn't loaded up with 20 things at a time. So I'm curious, how many current projects do you have running at a time?
Right now we have 5. So that's for our team at this point. What we do is inside of Asana, we have our Learn to Become team project home base. And then each person has their own project list as well. And what we do is the project that's on our team project home base, you can have it show up in multiple lists. So if I own a project, it shows up on my personal project list and on the team one. So when I sit down to work, I click April's projects, and then I just see those 2 that I'm responsible to move forward. If Danielle is opening hers, she clicks on Danielle's projects and she works from there. But when we have a team meeting, we open up the team project home base and then we can all check in and say, okay, here's what we're doing. So on my personal one, I usually have 1 to 3 projects for the company that I'm working on at a time.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. And that makes perfect sense to me because what we try to do, and I know you do this too, is there's overarching goals that we have, for the whole year, but also for just the quarter that we're working on. Right. And we always want to make sure and be checking in, like, are we working on the right things? Not just, are we just working a little bit on everything, or we're working on something that really isn't a priority. So prioritizing is super important. Absolutely. So I use Monday.com and it's very similar to Asana. It's actually been trying to catch up technically to Asana. So it now has a lot of the same capabilities. It's a little more visual than Asana. And that's one of the reasons I loved it. But both of them are equally, like, it's not one is better than the other. And if you're using something different, don't think, oh man, we have to switch now. You don't.
Yeah, it's just preferences.
You don't have to switch. There's tons of them out there. But one thing that we do also is everybody on our team is allowed to have their own board. So a board is one way of managing. It's kind of like a folder that you would have in Asana. So when everyone...
And Asana has a board view you can choose as well. Like Trello, you can pick board view or list view. Yeah. I think of it just as like a component, like a building block. Right?
Exactly. Yes. So we allow everyone on our team to have their own board to manage the projects. Do you let your team members kind of basically organize their board any way that they want to? Because that's something that I've done. Yeah, you do that too. Okay, perfect.
So we have like the team project home base, which we organize a very specific way. But then each of our team members, where they have their own project board, essentially, it's like a list view. But what I love is like, and one quick example, and I'll let you continue where you were going. But Jill, for example, she coordinates a lot of our community support. And she likes to have right below her projects a list of all the different customers that she needs to follow up with. And she has them all written down with calendar triggers. And she keeps that list there right below so that every day she goes in and checks and sees what's due that day, who she needs to follow up with. So there is like no customer service issue that slips through the cracks because Jill has got that all dialed in. And she's decided to put that right there with her projects. Since That's one of her routines, is just keeping up, with the community support. But I love that, how she's tailored it. So she knows she's mostly on routines and doesn't do as many projects. So she's tailored that to meet her needs.
That's perfect. Yes. And I think that's what I loved about letting them do it anyway. Like we have a couple rules. They have to keep some things towards the top, the main goals towards the top of their board. But other than that, they can organize it any way they want. And I found the same thing, that it was really fun to see how each person organized it a different way. And actually, I ended up adopting some of, it's like, oh, that's a good way to do it. So I'll do that on my board. And so, I love that. Okay, cool. So we have you have your current area. And then the next one is in progress.
In progress or waiting. And the purpose of this is if you've assigned something, let's say to an external contractor who's not on your core team, and you can't do anything more until you hear back from that person, it gives you a place to put the project. Because one time I was sitting in a leadership conference and the person on the stage said, okay, you want to make sure you are only doing one project at a time. You pick your top priority, you put all your attention into it. And the girl next to me said, well, what if I'm working on something and then I have to delegate it and I'm waiting for that person to get back? Do I just sit there and do nothing and wait? That was her question.
Yeah.
And what's so funny is the leader on the stage was like, didn't know how to respond to that. Like, well, I guess you could just kind of work on something else while you're waiting. But what happens is when you have that open loop, right? Someone else is working on something, you can't move forward, but you put it on your current list. You're going to keep looking at it, kind of like when you're working from your email inbox as your task list and you're continually scanning through to see. You don't want to waste time scanning. That's like the worst way you can spend your time because it's useless. You're not doing anything. So what you do, maybe not the worst way to spend your time, but what you would do is, once you've assigned, okay, for example, one of the things we're doing is we're reorganizing our funnel to accommodate 4 different types of leads. We're starting YouTube ads. So we have like Facebook ads, we have YouTube ads, we have affiliates, and we have organic. So we need to customize our funnel in order to accommodate so we can track better. And that's a project. But let's say I've assigned a contractor to go into our, CRM and to get that all set up. And it's not due for a week. I don't want that sitting on my current projects list because I personally am not going to be doing anything on it. So I would just move that project down to our in progress or waiting and include a calendar trigger to pop up in a week. And then my brain can rest because I know it's in someone else's hands, but I know I'll follow up when the calendar trigger hits.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. I love that. And I never realized that that's why you did it that way, was so that you don't waste time scanning. It's not only just the time, but like you said, the brain activity where you're like, oh, open loops. I hate open loops.
If you have like 30 emails in your inbox and you scan it every day to see, oh, wait, which one's due? Oh, wait, do I need to do that? Oh, wait, hang on. Is that Friday? Right? Mm-hmm. Like that is so frustrating because you're so afraid that you're going to forget something. And what this does is it tells your brain, hey, everything down here, it's safe. Don't stress. Just check your calendar every day. It'll pop up when it's time.
Yes, the trigger is really key so that you can rest assured that it's going to come back when it needs to.
Yes.
That's perfect. Okay, love that. All right, so then the next section that you have is next in line. Okay.
And the reason why I do this is because I noticed when I started creating my projects list, I ended up with like 80 projects and everything kept piling. And my heart cared so much about every project that I couldn't bear to delete any of them, and I didn't want to lose anything. And so what I've done is just created my next in line list. So for example, we were working on some new branding colors. We hired someone who came and looked at our site and gave us some new font suggestions and new color suggestions. And we're trying to put together a little PDF that we could use for anyone we hired to do design or social media or anything. And this is something that I was working on. It was a current project. And my daughter is actually working on it with us. She's a senior in high school. She loves design and color, and she's got a great eye for it. So we were working on this together. But some other things came up where we found out, our payment processing system is totally changing in 2 weeks. We've got to do some testing. We've got to get that set up. And there's also this new video thing because one of our video providers decided they weren't going to allow us to put anything behind a paywall anymore. Like there are all these things that kind of came up, and they were technical kind of crises in a way, because if we didn't deal with them, then something really bad could happen as far as just the flow of our company.
Yes.
So all I said, as much as I love this branding project,
the colors and the hex codes that we're using for these colors are really not as important as like our payment processor working, as far as like the health of the company. So I just took that project for the branding and I slid it down to next in line. And I created a new project to get our videos working and this payment processing. And so now I can look at the list and I know it's coming, but my energy is not going towards that right now. It's kind of at a place where it does need me. And so I've got it next in line. So what next in line does is it lets your brain say, number one, all your ideas and dreams and goals are safe. Number two, you're not trying to do everything at the same time. And number three, when it is time, you're going to know exactly where to go look for it. And all the information will be there waiting for you. And that way you feel really calm because you learn how to make decisions wisely for your business. And you learn where to put things. And it also makes conversations really helpful. Like when we'll have a team meeting and we'll share the screen and we'll look at Asana and we'll say, okay, here's what we're working on right now, but this new thing came up. Should we move this to next in line? Or maybe should we wait a few months? We'll move it all the way down to someday. That's the final one. And also if I'm sitting, Eric, my husband and I work together, we run the business together. So Eric and I will be talking and he might say, hey, we really need to work on this testimonials page. Like we are just losing opportunities because these testimonials are flooding in and we've got all these awesome pictures. We've got to do something about it. So I will actually open up Asana. I'll turn it towards him and I'll say, okay, where would you recommend we put that? Is it more important than this, and this that we're currently doing, do you think? And then when he can actually see, oh, wait, hang on, actually, we do need to focus on those other two first. Yeah, let's put it next in line. Then it helps. And so I think any team member could use this strategy as well, because if your leader is telling you, hey, you got to do this, you can say, sure, I'd love to. What should I deprioritize? And you make them look at it and then they have to tell you, oh, actually, yeah, that is more important than this. But it gives you a way where it forces you to basically, it's like if you're, doing building blocks and you're making a tower, you have to choose what order they're going to go in. Because I think one of the main things that stresses people out, whether you're, family or business or whatever you're doing, is when you think everything is equally important and it all needs to be done now. When you believe that, all you're going to do is set yourself up to procrastinate, to get nothing done, and then ultimately feel like you're failing and not ever reaching those goals you're most excited to achieve.
Yeah, you just go right into overwhelm. You go into complete overwhelm and then you freeze up, which, your body goes into fear and you just you procrastinate or you avoid even starting because you don't know where to start. I mean, I think everyone has experienced the moment where you sit down and there's so much to do where you're like, I don't even know where to start. And that's because there's no priority. Awful. Yeah.
It's like the worst feeling. Well, I came home from our conference that we attended and I had 3 pages in my executive summary. I had like 50 pages of notes because the conference was so good. But my executive summary of the conference was also 3 pages long, which was too much. And I didn't process it for about a week and a half because we had a bunch of things that happened with our kids and activities and events. And I mean, we were had guests in town. It was just constant. So I didn't have time to process. And I noticed what was happening is I actually started to feel sick inside and frustrated and muddled, like my brain wasn't clear because I knew that I had all these new ideas that didn't have a home yet. And so I couldn't tell what was my priority and what could wait. So then I made it a top priority to sit down, have some quiet. I got out my executive summary. I took each project and then I placed it into Asana in the proper order. And I was able to say, okay, this can wait. All right, I put this way down here. Okay, now this is really important. Let's move this up. Now we've got to readjust. And I took, a couple of hours to really think through and process. Now, all of my notes are processed. All of my projects are in there, and they might not be perfectly organized, but they're good enough for now that they can now be refined. But what it did was it gave my brain this calm and this clarity. And if as a leader, you don't have that, it's just going to trickle down. You can't think that you can be a super disorganized, mentally overwhelmed leader and that all the people working with you are just going to clear it all up for you.
Yeah.
It won't happen. It's got to start from the top.
Yeah.
Clarity from the top.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. What you said there, I think sometimes people, when they're planning their day, this is something I always tell my CEOs, when you're planning your day or you're planning the next month or even the year, and also like what you were doing after going to the conference, people sometimes feel like, well, that's kind of wasted time. It's actually not. It can be one of the most valuable times that you spend as a CEO. So one of the exercises I do with my CEOs when I first start working with them is I have them do a time tracker, and we have different categories that they put some of the different tasks that they're in, and I have them give value to the different tasks. And a lot of times they will go, oh, that probably wasn't a very valuable hour I spent. And I'm like, oh no, that was very valuable. What wasn't valuable was you over here doing the graphics.
Yeah,
like you can hire someone to do that, but you can't hire someone to do your planning or to download after a conference.
And it's so funny though, because one time I do this on the airplane whenever I'm coming home from a conference. Like this is before I watch a movie or do anything else to relax on the plane. The first thing I do is get out all my notes while it's fresh, and I make this executive summary. And I was doing it one time on an airplane. All these things I learned 3 or 4 days, and I was writing it down, putting it together. And I remember as I was writing, my brain was energized and I was picturing all of this happening. The vision was becoming more clear. I was thinking, oh my goodness, this is not only going to be a great income generator, but this is going to impact hundreds and thousands of people. Like I was so excited. And then there was this man next to me and he said, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I'm, putting together all of my notes from this conference and I'm, creating this vision. And he looked at me like really condescendingly and he's like, oh, I hire people to do that for me. And I just kind of smiled like, oh, that's great, but I just thought, you know what? I don't know what he thought I was doing or what he does as a leader, but I'm like, if you are hiring someone to create this vision for you,
I don't think he truly understood what you were doing.
He didn't ask any follow-up questions. So I'm like, I'm not going to.
You know what was probably throwing him off, because I've seen you do this and you actually taught me, and it's a hugely valuable skill to be able to take everything that you just learned at a conference and be able to put it in an orderly form that you can actually use it. And you know how you have those little pictures and the little coding? He probably saw that and thought you were like, journaling and playing and coloring. Yeah. But because, you have this whole system for it.
I get it.
Yeah. Right. First of all, he didn't know who he was sitting next to. Yeah. But secondly, he really didn't understand. But I agree with you 100%. That executive summary that you do is really valuable. And it's just really taking everything and pulling out all the golden nuggets and putting it together.
Yeah. And figuring out, what does it mean to me? You can go listen to a podcast. I mean, people who are listening right now to our conversation, I'm really not interested that people just listen to a conversation. I'm interested in people listening or reading or whatever they're doing to consume information, and then asking, how is this information going to be applied to my life in a way that's going to improve where I am and where I'm going and help me feel excited when I wake up in the morning? That's what I care about. And so when you say, oh, I read a bunch of books, or I went to a bunch of conferences, and you can kind of check that off your list. Really, that does nothing for you. That takes time and it takes money and it takes energy. But what happens is, if every time I'm reading or learning, which there's so much learning to do out there because there's a lot of really smart people who are now able to share their information over the internet, most of it free. Like, it's pretty amazing how much information you can get. Plus, once you hire and, get coaches and pay for masterminds, things like that I know you do as well. Then when you can actually take that and say, okay, therefore what? I just went and spent all this time and all this money and hired someone. What am I going to do to make this a part of my life so that it will change my life? When you can answer that question, that's when you start seeing the magic happen.
That's a good one. I love that. That's really good. Okay. Well, so let's just circle back real quick here. So there's one last section. You have your someday section. And really, is that kind of like, I have a back burner section, and I think it's kind of the same as your someday. It's like, it's not really next, but it's like where we're storing that idea, like some of the things that you might get from your executive. What was it? Your dreams? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I do is Eric and I have this dream of a membership. We're just not 100% sure how we want to structure it yet. We're having so much success with our current program that we're just scaling that right now because it makes the most sense and it's already built and there's a whole world out there that needs to get organized. So we
Yes.
have a whole like wide field ready, And so we're really excited about that. But we are excited about this membership. So I have that right now. I've moved it down to someday. I also didn't want my someday list to become so long that you have to scroll for like hours in Asana to read through them all. So I actually have like 10 of my top someday projects. And then the very bottom, it says more ideas. And you click in there. And then I have like way more brainstorms of anything that comes to mind. So that's when you go to a conference and someone says, oh, it's so amazing. We do this thing with our team, or yeah, we just started doing this. Or they talk about these really awesome projects that are way next level, like something that, you're not going to do right now, but that you think, oh, that actually would be really cool, maybe in 10 years or something like that. I just keep all of those in my someday and under my more ideas, because then I have a place to keep them safe. And I actually have a calendar trigger about once a month to review my someday ideas. And I just go through and look at them. And what's really amazing is how many somedays actually end up moving up to current. Or I think, oh, wait, actually, we already did that. And things just kind of start happening. It's almost like your vision board that you've got created of, oh, wouldn't it be amazing to do this? And so having a place to dream, it's not stressful. No one's sitting over your head saying, when is this going to happen? I don't even put calendar triggers on it. It's just there as, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did this someday? And I love it. It's like this little precious space where I can just go in and start dreaming about who we want to become and what our company would be doing in 10 years, or, even something we could do in a few years. Or sometimes the stars align and you say, oh my goodness, the time is right. We're going to take this one and we're going to make it happen. And then you feel this little burst of joy when you see something that you thought was way someday happen. Like, for example, we wanted to take our team on an international trip, and we really have wanted to work with companies that provide mentoring and micro loans to people who are living in poverty, who want a hand up, who want to start businesses and things like that. And that was his dream. So Eric and I had it on our someday list, do an international trip with our team. Well, we ended up having breakfast with the CEO of a micro lending mentoring organization, charitable organization. And he invited us to go last September to the Dominican Republic and to go visit and be part of it. And we said, oh, we usually do our team retreat in September, but could we bring our team? We just kind of randomly asked him, at this breakfast. We said, we have airline miles. We could, cover the flights. We could do it. He's like, absolutely. So we flew our entire team to the Dominican Republic, had a 5-day trip, got to go into these homes and meet these entrepreneurs who are literally living in like these shacks with no electricity, but who are starting businesses. And it was amazing. Now we're starting to translate our materials into Spanish and putting a really simple program together that could be translated into multiple languages and be used with people who don't even have computers or smartphones. And it's just become this total someday project that actually got moved up, and now it's happening.
Wow.
So I think there's a lot of power when you can say, oh, let me write that down.
Yes.
That I want to do it someday. And you review it. And then it's pretty amazing how things like that start happening.
Oh, that is such a great story. I love that you got to do that. That's really cool. I think also one thing I'm going to start doing is revisiting, because we look at what we call a back burner. We look at it about once a quarter. And I think I need to look at it more, because sometimes we do look at the back burner, and I have had that experience where like, oh, we actually did that one. Yeah, I've had that happen too. So I think I need to be looking at it more, but I love that happened. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I just wanted to thank you, April, because this was really good. I get excited to talk about this stuff, and I know you do too. So the fact that we're doing it together, I think, is really, really fun. And I think you shined a light on how it can be a calming thing to manage a project when you went over your whole team home base. I think that's really helpful. So where can people connect with you if they want to learn more about what it is that you do?
Yeah, learndobecome.com/step. That's our initial free training where we talk about how you identify your projects, narrow them down, identify your next action, and how to start actually getting momentum. Come take the free class. And then if you like it and you're excited and want to come into our program, then you'll have an offer to come in and you can see video recordings. I'll show you how I organize Asana, show you all the details of emails to zero, talk about how you make it so there's no piles anywhere in your house and you can manage your family and your business and not feel stressed out about the projects because there's important stuff that you need to do. And I feel like the most important things, that's the relationships. Those are the big decisions. That's creating the vision. That's helping people. And if you can get all those tasks and emails and projects in a system that doesn't cause any stress, then you can put 98% of your energy towards living your mission. And that feels pretty amazing. So that's my vision and goal. Thank you so much, Theresa. It's been a pleasure to be able to talk with you today.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us for this interview. I hope that you fell in love with Theresa, just like I have just been one of her biggest fans forever. She's awesome. So you can find a link to her website on our show notes page, learndobecome.com/episode 97. I'm so grateful for you. And if you are brand new here and you want to learn more about how to organize your emails and your projects and your tasks and all the papers and stuff so you can live a pile-free life and actually enjoy your life, come check out our free training. It's learndobecome.com/step. We really just right now focus on one program here at Learn, Do, Become. We have some others in the wings, but right now we are scaling and enjoying building our STEP program. We would love to have you learn about steps to everyday productivity. That's what STEP stands for. Be able to build your command central. It's so fun. I get super giddy just talking about it. But anyway, we're grateful you're here and we will see you soon at learndobecome.com.